the volatility has been suppressed, and whenever that happens, we see high volatility followed by that. So it says, as crazy as it sounds, XRP may hit $100, but at the moment, we do have these kind of thought process also in the market, and to an extent that is true. But if you actually look through what the entire market is doing, if you look through where the money is flowing, and if you try to understand which direction the price action is moving right now, it kind of gives you an edge, because in yesterday's video we did talk about this scenario. We got a candle here showing bulls are entering, they're interested, but the next candle, it didn't actually drop heavily to the downside like we got here. Rather, it held the position and it tried to go back up, which was actually a bullish thing to see. Then what happens? Now, the price action is showing you a double bottom. Now, yes, that's not on a daily. You will have to zoom in on a 4-hour chart to see what exactly is happening there. As of now, the price is holding on to this territory, which shows you there is active involvement of bulls. Look at the RSI. It kind of gives you an idea that we're trying to move higher. There are different trend lines which you can actually plot in the RSI, but it actually shows you the short-term trend, the movement has been changing, and it kind of involves more and more bulls and bullish sentiments as of now. So the trend line which we want to see is this. We want to actually see this particular range breaking. So if you actually plot it to the upside, you can be a little bit more conservative and say, okay, unless I see a break of 0.65, I'm not turning ultra bullish. But you also have to keep in mind there is a possible pattern evolving like this, and we are getting so close to a macro level of support. So what now? From here, what are we watching? Because Bitcoin didn't move much in the last couple of days. So that means the volatility has been suppressed, and whenever that happens, we see high volatility followed by that. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family. The normal retail guys get learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. If you actually look at the Bitcoin dominant side of things on a daily, you get to see that, okay, this trend line is active and it is working as we discussed last time. Each time you come towards this trend line, what happens? It bounces off. So a week back, we had the discussion saying, okay, we may actually bounce off. This is the trend line which we are watching. And right now, the market shows you, yeah, that was the trend line. We came back to test the support and then we bounced off. That is positive. It is showing you for the time being, Bitcoin is getting more money into it. And that's one of the reasons why when you look at Bitcoin itself directly, we can actually put an argument, okay, maybe we may actually watch Bitcoin coming back to this support level and showing a little bit of bounce. Now, that may not be a huge bounce because we do have a trend line here. But keep in mind, with each micro moves here in Bitcoin, some of these altcoins are actually running crazy. We have actually seen some of those happening, right? Say even in the big caps, you actually saw like, XDC moving higher. Now we are actually going through all of those, like say YGG was like up like 255 in a week. And I told you guys to skim the profits, right? And now if you actually look through this, opportunities exist. It's actually going through. Now it's somewhere here going through our target 1, going towards target 2. Same happens to say the next one was HBAR, which is slowly moving higher. We had our calls on those. Then if you actually look through all of these assets, you actually can see, yeah, the market is just moving money in and around it. It's still at $1.2 trillion. That means on one side, the market is draining some assets, and on the other side, it's moving towards one asset. So what you and me should be doing here is you can take any assets you want. Say this is XLM for that matter. One thing to keep in mind is, say, individually, we may not be able to move the market in one direction, but you can follow the whales and make money. Now, how do you do that, right? The basic thing here is the support resistance, whether that's a trend line or it's a horizontal one. You can actually easily spot that, yeah, we do have these trend lines. We had faked outs also. That's important to note. And as soon as you come back in, it kind of becomes like a new trend line. It kind of becomes like a new support resistance zone. So when we were here, I told, okay, we're going to go up. But yeah, we went up, but we went up way higher than I anticipated because that was news. Now you came back and you retested that as a support. So it's actually bullish in my humble opinion. Why? Because now you want to actually see the same big bulls, the giants, pushing the price higher from this point. On a daily chart, this asset is showing you a hammer, one, two, an inverted hammer. Both of them are bullish after a trend to the downside, an ABC pattern. So for me, I would actually look for a trend in the short term and note my resistance. So here for XLM, if you actually plot that, you will watch that, okay, we may actually get a bounce to this level. Now, if you want to make money, you're looking for a breakout here, which means above 0.15, you now understand the fact that bulls are entering maybe for a trading scenario where they may push the price towards the resistance here. Now, once that breaks, it's an entirely different story. It's macro bullish. But right now, you're not actually aiming for something above that. If you're trading, you're looking for something in between. But you have assets like this where you had macro structures showing you, okay, you have much higher ROI in preparation. The RSI was joining in the price action showing a breakout. Now, once you count all these in, say you go into the market, pick a random asset, say, let's say the second one here is audio. If you actually go into audio, what do you actually see? I'm looking at all these assets one by one. Oh, it's already halfway through. I had the breakout call in the group. Now it's already halfway through. So micro movements does give you the ability to understand how things are evolving. When you're on a daily chart, you get to see what exactly happened. It was a support. Then it turned into a resistance. It turned into another resistance. And if you plot that correctly, you can see that was a breakout. And that's where we had our call. One is trend line basis. Two is the price action and the pattern. How do you identify those? Easy thing to look for in the market is W, which is a double bottom. W usually stands for double bottom, which also is considered as a win for bulls whenever that happens. And when it confirms your measured move, how does that work? You take the bottom till the neckline, and that's 25% from the breakout. So if you are a bull looking at the trend, you're saying, okay, this can actually go up to 0.25. That's a 25% run up. And that's just one asset in the market. If you're waiting for more certainty, you're a low risk trader, literally you're watching for a breakout here. And as of now, you're getting that. But yeah, we went in before that because we actually saw reversal signal at the support. What does that mean? It's price action. You go in and you actually watch the price showing you this, which is an engulfing pattern reversal signal happening at a support range. That's huge. Meaning you usually go in. And what happens? The price actually bounces off. So the market actually gives you all these ideas. Just looking at the volume part of it, you kind of get to understand, okay, that's happening. Buyers are entering here. So that is a change in the market structure which you want to look at. Great. Now let's move into XRP and say, okay, where are we right now? In yesterday's video, we actually discussed about this trend line formation, which would be clearly visible on a 3-day chart, where the trend is identified. There is no difference in that. This trend has been there, active from some time. But what's the question? How can we make money? Because we cannot move the market in one direction with just our capital to push it to the upside or to the downside. We need to follow the bulls or the bears who are whales in the market, who are literally moving the market, either by the news narratives or by pushing it through shorting or longing the market. Great. If you actually look for this particular range, you can actually understand one thing. This is considered as a macro support resistance, and just above that or just below that will be the actual move up. Why? They would always confuse the retail, or that's how they make their money. They don't want us to make money, but we do want to make money, right? So once you actually understand the perspective of, yeah, double bottom came in, you bounced off. Not a lot of people actually saw that coming, but yeah, the news kind of pushed the price too high. Now we are correcting back down, and what you have to keep in mind is the reality that one candle actually popped like this, which was a huge move. Great, perfect. But after that, it's been few candles now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, ninth candle. That's what's happening right now. And we are still about 50% territory of this one candle. That's huge. Meaning if you actually put the numbers in, you will actually watch that we are around 50% of that initial move to the upside, which gives you certainty to say like, okay, bulls are actually respecting this range of resistance. That's great. Now the previous range of resistance is turned into a support because we are getting additional buying power coming in. If not, we would have dropped back into this territory where we would be looking for a trend line support here, somewhere close to 0.41, 0.43. However, we are not in that territory. And when you zoom in on a daily, this is what you are watching. You got a hammer, you got an inverse hammer. Both of them are bullish reversal signal in the market. Great. Now you want a continuation signal. So if you are trading this asset, keep this in mind. This is the neckline at the top, 0.6369. And you plot the trend line at the bottom, which should be your support. As soon as you break one of this, now you have the direction. If you see the price breaking this direction on the price action side, you can say, okay, this is going to go higher, at least towards 0.7, 0.71 in the first range or first attempt, which could be a resistance for sure. Now, if you're a pattern guy and you're saying, okay, I want more certainty, now you'll have to wait for this to break. And once it breaks, you're saying the price action is going to go towards this roof of 0.8, 0.83 range. That's not actually a bad thing. It still is a decent ROI if you're trading the market. Now, that's short-term movement. However, you always have to take the trade in the direction of the macro trade. And that goes on a weekly chart, that goes on a monthly chart to understand which direction the price action is moving. And it's been just 6 days for the month. So we don't actually have a confirmation whether we're going to come back down to close this or come back here to retest that 0.56 range. To get clear moves and lower noise in the market, we can always use a line chart. We've been using that from months, if not, years on this structure here, and looking at this and saying like, okay, there is a huge possibility we are bullish. And it does look like we are bullish. So what are we looking on a monthly? We want to see the price action coming back down close to maybe 0.56, 0.758, and then a bounce off. That would show there is a trend line which is active. There has been a trend line pattern which we are watching that broke to the upside, which is bullish. And if that now becomes a support, what are we looking at? The range here is going to be much, much attractive. Say the price action come to 0.6 and bounce off. That kind of gives us the clarity that, okay, that's now a trend line, because right now we only have 2 points inside this trend. 1, 2. If we get a bounce off here, now we can confirm the fact that, okay, we're going to go higher from there because that is now acting as a trend line. If you look at this, 1, 2, and 3, that trend was confirmed. If you actually look at the same on the RSI side of things, you can actually put the argument saying like, okay, if you zoom in on RSI and look for the trend line, we are watching what the price is doing there. And we're getting so close to the support. So if the RSI shows you a bounce at this point, that is going to be a macro bullish indicator. So you go on a weekly to actually see what the hell is happening on that trend. And you actually have one trend line which is at the bottom, which kind of shows you the price action can slow down till 55. Below 50 is negative, above 50 is positive. So you are still in a macro bullish structure for XRP. Great. Now, we all understand the fact that Bitcoin kind of moves the market. If it actually drops, it slows down the entire market. So don't go levered in any of these markets unless you are sure that Bitcoin is actually going to do a bounce and you actually get to see micro term confirmation. For micro level confirmation for a move up in Bitcoin, you would actually have to see this level breaking 29,100 and a candle close there, which kind of shows you, okay, there is a probability that the price action is going to go towards 29,300. That's the zone which you're watching. And what's the support zone where you're expecting or anticipating a bounce? It comes towards the level of 45 in the RSI. Now, all these are valid only if you are trying to trade the market on the short-term horizon, which is risky. So you actually have to understand how things are evolving, which assets are breaking higher, what's the odds. Say we had a call yesterday saying, okay, this may actually break higher and move up. And if I remember that correctly, yeah, we actually broke higher. We hit the target 1. Now we were looking at the target 2. If you are actually like, okay, I'm still learning, I want some support in learning and seeing these opportunities, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below, where you actually get to see all of these happening. One of the benefit here, say if we actually take that exact post here, I'm actually showing you guys, like, okay, this is what I'm looking at. It's actually breaking higher. And if it's breaking the micro level move, the first resistance is here. Next one is to the upside. Great. What are we looking at? A break of the RSI. And remember, this is a micro level movement which we are watching. And I'm giving you guys what I'm looking at. And at the time, if you actually look through a lot of these other assets, it's showing you where we are headed. It's actually showing you how things are evolving. Now, the market is so big, you'll actually be confused with all these assets. And if there is one micro movement, you need to keep an eye focused on the Bitcoin dominance. Now that the Bitcoin dominance is showing you an engulfing bearish candle, we may actually have a little bit of slowdown coming back down to 49.95. That means on the micro level, you may actually see more altcoins starting to run up. So the trend line, the micro level trend line, not the medium term or short term, is now turning negative. As soon as you broke this, now you're watching. You're waiting to see whether it gets rejected here. If it does, that means you're coming back down and you may have this range as your support, 49.50, 49.65. Great. During that time, you will actually watch a lot of these altcoins starting to move up. So if you see breakouts, it would work much more at that particular time. So this is how the market actually works. Great. Now, what about all these articles showing the macro numbers and, some disappointments? Now, I agree with Whale here on this point. Like, after this news, we're not actually watching a lot of people pushing the market up. But let me ask you one thing. I mean, maybe you'll agree with me, maybe you may not, but be open. Inform me that in the comment section. I'm completely fine. We'll actually discuss through that. If you actually look at this chart, the way I'm looking at it is like this, exactly like this. Say, this range has been active for like 430 days. So there should be a lot of human beings who actually bought this assets. I'm not talking about the algorithms, the bots and all. It's us, the human beings. There are a lot of people who are stuck inside this range. Great. Now, as soon as you see a break higher, but before that, your emotion is so bad, you're depressed, the price is not moving, all those things, and your average maybe close to 0.4, and if you are great in averaging down, then 0.35. What happens? By 0.9, 0.8, 0.6, you are still in 100% profit, and you're literally like, I'm not sure about this movement, I've been stuck in this asset, I need liquidity. Why? The economy is not doing good. If you actually take a look at how the jobs came out here in Canada, you'll see, okay, it's slowly going up, meaning the jobless claims are going up, which for me is not a good signal for the economy. So one side, you have the economy itself pushing individuals out of the market. On the other end, you actually got this news and the price popped. So there are still people who thinks that they can take the profit and maybe they are able to buy back at the bottom. So you actually got the selling pressure coming back into the market. Great. Still, the amount of bulls here is super strong that it is not allowing the price to drop immediately back to 0.45, which shows macro level bullishness. If you go back in time, you'll actually watch something similar. we had this range where we were consolidating like 460 days. Then we had a pop. Now, yeah, that's because of the SEC case. We actually came back way lower, but we were anticipating a drop to retest this range, say 0.32 back then. Now, that's one of the reasons why I have always stated for at least 2-3 years that this range is a macro bullish reversal zone. That happens to be resistance, support, resistance, support. So that's something to keep an eye on. And now that we are breaking through that range, what's the next level? This one, where we are now at. But the difference is we are not actually knocking the door from the downside. We are actually doing the exact same from the upside, which makes it a support. And we are on the trend to the upside. We are just starting the move to the upside. If you actually plot a trend line, what do you actually see? For me, I would actually put the argument saying, okay, the momentum here in XRP is increasing. You had a trend line like this first. Afterwards, you had the trend line going up. Momentum just increased even before the news actually came in. So what you're watching right now in the market is the starting point of an asset which is preparing for a massive run up. But if Bitcoin is about to slow it down, you're going to get opportunities for sure. You're actually going to see a lot of opportunities in the market where you would literally watch, okay, Bitcoin is slowing down. You'll actually watch a lot of opportunities in different assets. But make sure you're not actually entering in for a random coin where the news is negative, where the asset is negative. Don't do that. Buy at support, not at resistance. Take profits at resistance. Don't make that mistake. So if you learned something from this video, please do hit that like button. We've been getting 500, 600, 700 likes even after 5,000, 6,000 views. So I'm like, not a lot of you are actually trying to smash that like button. And if you really do that, I'm so happy. So that's it for today, guys. I'll meet you on the next video. Bye for now.